All right, ready to dive deep. Today we're exploring Splendor Solis, a 16th century alchemical manuscript.
Oh, Splendor Solis. It's a fascinating one, full of allegorical pictures, practical alchemy, and a personal account from its author, Solomon Trismosin.
Solomon Trismosin, allegedly the teacher of Paracelsus. That's a pretty big claim to fame in the world of alchemy.
It is. And Trismosin doesn't shy away from bold claims in Splendor Solis. He even outlines his red lion process, which he says is the key to creating the Philosopher's Stone.
The Philosopher's Stone, the ultimate alchemical achievement. But before we jump into making gold or even trying to understand this red lion, let's set the stage. Splendor Solis isn't just about practical alchemy, is it?
Not at all. There's a whole spiritual dimension woven in. Think potential connections to the tarot. We're talking layers upon layers of meaning. It's a real puzzle.
So we're not just dealing with chemical reactions here. We're also exploring the transformation of the soul. To understand Splendor Solis, we need to understand the world it came from.
Exactly. Picture the Renaissance, a time of intense intellectual curiosity, a rediscovery of ancient knowledge, and a real thirst to understand the natural world.
It was a time when people were challenging old assumptions, even questioning the very nature of elements. We take the periodic table for granted now, but back then, things were much more fluid.
Absolutely. And alchemy, with its blend of philosophy, mysticism, and early chemistry, was at the forefront of this intellectual revolution. Alchemists were working with a different set of building blocks: salt, mercury, and sulfur.
Not the literal substances.
Right. More like fundamental principles or energies that underpinned all matter. Imagine trying to crack a hidden code, a symbolic language that held the key to unlocking the secrets of nature.
Okay, so let's try to crack this code. The title itself, Splendor Solis, hence had a double meaning. Gold splendor, the physical side of alchemy, and soul splendor, the spiritual side.
Exactly. It's telling us right from the start that this is about more than just material transformation. There's an inner dimension to this quest.
And those allegorical pictures, 22 in total, those are central to the spiritual interpretation, wouldn't you say? They're like visual keys to unlocking deeper layers of meaning.
They're like the major arcana of the tarot. Some scholars even believe there are clues hidden within these images, pointing towards something called the sea serpent process.
Sea serpent process. What's that all about? Sounds pretty mysterious.
It is. Imagine an alchemical secret passed down through whispers, hidden in obscure texts, a recipe for creating the Philosopher's Stone. Elusive as a sea serpent, just surfacing and then disappearing in the vast ocean.
So it's not just about turning lead into gold, but about this inner spiritual transformation.
You've got it. Imagine the Philosopher's Stone not as a physical object, but as a symbol of achieving a higher state of consciousness, a way of unlocking the divine within. This is what Hermetic science, embraced by many alchemists, was all about.
And this brings us to Jacob Boehme, the 16th century mystic. His work really emphasizes this spiritual side of alchemy.
Absolutely. Boehme wasn't focused on the physical transmutation of metals. He was interested in the transformation of the soul. For him, tincture wasn't some material concoction. It represented the very life force, the essence of the creator.
So instead of turning lead into gold, Boehme was talking about refining that spark within, becoming the best version of yourself.
Precisely. He saw the Philosopher's Stone as a symbol of divine illumination, a state of spiritual awakening and understanding.
It sounds like Splendor Solis is a multi-layered cake with history, symbolism, and even some personal drama baked in. Speaking of drama, what about Trismosin's own story?
Yes, Trismosin's journey. His alchemical quest began with a chance encounter with a secretive alchemist named Flocker who showed him the ultimate feat, turning lead into gold right before his eyes.
Wow, talk about an inspiring moment. That must have been a turning point for Trismosin.
It was. His journey took him all over, learning from all sorts of people, a pair who could silver tin, encountering fraudulent alchemists in Venice. He even worked in a nobleman's lavish laboratory, a place filled with every tool an alchemist could dream of.
Wow, what a world to imagine. Secret workshops, glowing furnaces, cryptic formulas.
And danger, too. Don't forget the danger. Alchemy wasn't for the faint of heart.
Did Trismosin ever achieve his own alchemical success? Did he actually create gold?
He claimed he did. He describes his first successful gold extraction, for which he was handsomely rewarded, but with a catch and oath of secrecy because alchemical knowledge was meant to be guarded.
The element of secrecy, it adds to the mystique. We've gone from the Renaissance to secret societies to ancient Egyptian treasures. This one manuscript is taking us on quite a ride.
And we're just getting started. Remember those 7 rules for creating the Philosopher's Stone? They offer a surprisingly straightforward framework for the alchemical process.
Straightforward. From what I've heard about alchemy, that seems almost too good to be true.
Well, straightforward in the sense that they outline the key stages in a clear order. Extraction, dissolution, putrefaction. These terms might sound a bit intimidating, but essentially they describe a process of purification and refinement. You're breaking down the base matter to its core before rebuilding it into something new.
Okay, so it's like a cosmic recipe. Take raw ingredients, deconstruct them, and then reconstruct them into something extraordinary.
Exactly. And there's this idea of one vessel, meaning the entire process should ideally happen within a single sealed container. But perhaps the most intriguing part is the red lion process.
Ah, yes, the red lion. We keep coming back to that. What makes this process so special?
Well, it's a multi-step process involving some powerful substances, corrosive sublimate, alcohol, and a key ingredient called lion's blood made from dissolved gold.
Lion's blood. Now that sounds like something straight out of a fantasy novel.
It does, doesn't it? And according to Trismosin, this red line process can transmute other metals, not just silver, but also mercury, tin, lead, copper, even iron, into gold.
Wait, he's saying this process can turn practically any metal into gold. Is he talking about real gold here, or is this more symbolic?
That's the claim. But here's the fascinating part. The red lion was also believed to have incredible medicinal properties, curing physical ailments, rejuvenating the body, even increasing fertility in women.
Wow, a mythical cure-all. But working with substances like corrosive sublimate, that can't be safe, can it?
You're right to be cautious. Those chemicals can be extremely dangerous. The reactions involved in the red lion process can be explosive if not handled properly.
Okay, so maybe we'll leave the red lion experiments to the experts. But just hearing about it is enough to make my imagination run wild. We've barely scratched the surface of Splendor Solis, and I'm already captivated.
And that's what makes Splendor Solis so captivating. It's this journey into a world of mystery and wonder. It invites you to think deeply, question everything, and explore the mysteries of the world and ourselves.
It makes you wonder if there's a right way to interpret Splendor Solis, or is it more about each person's unique journey with it?
Oh, I think it's definitely about the individual journey, like planting a seed and watching it grow in its own way. You bring your own curiosity and experiences, and that allows Splendor Solis to bloom, in a way that's unique to you.
Like every garden's different. It's a beautiful analogy. It really makes you appreciate the dedication of these alchemists, these individuals who devoted their lives to unlocking nature's secrets. What do you think drove them, fueled their relentless pursuit?
A deep, burning curiosity, I'd say. This desire to understand, to grasp the hidden mechanisms of the universe. And let's not forget the risk involved. Alchemy was dangerous. They were working with toxic substances, facing unpredictable reactions.
They were pushing the boundaries, risking it all for the sake of knowledge. It makes you wonder what they would think of our modern world, of our scientific advancements, our understanding of chemistry.
It's fascinating to think about, isn't it? Imagine showing an alchemist like Trismosin a modern chemistry lab with all its advanced equipment and precise measurements. Would they be impressed? Disappointed?
I think they'd be struck by our technological prowess, but also maybe a sense of a loss. Like something essential has been sacrificed in our quest for, scientific certainty.
I see what you mean. Alchemy wasn't just about the end product. It was about the transformation that happened along the way. The alchemists themselves were purified, They experienced a kind of spiritual growth in the process.
Right. It was about aligning oneself with the forces of nature, working with the cosmos, not just manipulating it for material gain. Do you think that's still relevant today?
Absolutely. Especially now with our emphasis on technology, it's easy to lose that connection to nature, that sense of wonder and awe.
And speaking of awe and wonder, we can't forget those 22 allegorical pictures in Splendor Solis. Each one is like a portal to a hidden world.
They're like the alchemical treatises themselves, those pictures. They operate on multiple levels. You have the literal, and then you have the symbolic spiritual level.
They invite us to look beyond the surface, decode the hidden language, the metaphors. When you look at these pictures, what stands out to you?
The interplay of opposites. You see it everywhere in the colors, the figures, the way they're arranged. There's a tension between light and darkness, male and female, earthly and divine. It's a visual representation of the alchemical process itself, the idea of taking something base and transforming it into something more refined.
And those transformations often involve some pretty striking imagery, don't they? Kings being crowned, figures being dismembered, dragons. It's a really strange and powerful mix of violence and beauty, destruction and creation.
Exactly. Alchemy was about death and rebirth, breaking down old structures to make way for the new. It's that cyclical nature of transformation. Like, growth often requires us to face our shadows, to embrace the unknown.
It makes you wonder about Trismosin's own journey. He saw it all. Deception, genuine practice. What lessons did he learn?
I think it all boils down to discernment. Alchemy was a field full of tricksters, but it also held true wisdom. It was up to the individual to sift through the noise and find the real path.
So it's not just about what you know, but who you are, your intent. Does that mean alchemy was more of a spiritual thing than just a science?
I think so. In its purest form, alchemy was about self-discovery, about transformation. It required intellect, but also moral integrity, a deep respect for the power of nature.
That respect for nature, I think that's something we could all learn from. Today we try to control everything, but nature has its own wisdom, its own rhythms.
Couldn't agree more. And that's why Splendor Solis is still so relevant. It reminds us that this quest for knowledge, whether material or spiritual, is a journey. It's about what we become along the way.
You know, it's interesting. As much as I enjoy these mysteries, I'm kind of glad that some secrets remain hidden. Keeps the sense of wonder alive, the curiosity that drives us to explore and discover.
I get that. There's a certain magic in the unknown, a sense of possibility.
Splendor Solis gives us glimpses into a hidden world, but it doesn't reveal all its secrets. It invites us to be part of the mystery, to use our own imaginations.
And that, I think, is the true legacy of alchemy. It's not about having all the answers, but about cultivating a mindset of curiosity, a willingness to experiment, to respect the mysteries that lie at the heart of everything.
It makes you wonder how these alchemists would view our world today, all our technology and advancements. Would they be impressed? Or would they see something missing?
Now that's a question. Imagine showing Trismosin a smartphone, connecting instantly to information from across the globe. Would he see it as a tool for enlightenment, or a distraction, a source of illusion?
I think a bit of both, probably. These alchemists were driven by a deep thirst for knowledge, but they were also wary of shortcuts, easy answers.
Like those fraudulent alchemists Trismosin encountered, they were all about tricks and illusions. It shows that the pursuit of knowledge, whether material or spiritual, requires a discerning eye, a willingness to question everything.
I wonder how Trismosin would navigate our modern world with his blend of breakthroughs and pseudoscience. Could he separate truth from fiction?
I believe he would. He'd apply that same critical thinking, that discernment he honed during his journey. He'd remind us that true knowledge isn't given, it's earned, through effort, experimentation, confronting our own biases and the limitations.
Just like those 7 rules for creating the Philosopher's Stone. They provide a framework, but no easy recipe. It's about understanding the principles, not blindly following instructions.
Right. It's about cultivating a mindset of inquiry, a willingness to explore and experiment, a deep respect for nature's complexities.
And that respect, I think that's what's missing sometimes. We try to manipulate and control our environment, but forget that nature has its own wisdom, its own rhythms and cycles.
Which brings us back to Splendor Solis and its enduring relevance. It's a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge, whether material or spiritual, is a journey of transformation.
It's about the insights we gain, the wisdom we cultivate, and the deeper understanding we achieve along the way.
And sometimes, those profound discoveries aren't found in books or labs, but within ourselves.
It's about nurturing a sense of wonder, a deep reverence for those mysteries that lie at the heart of existence.
Absolutely.
Wow, what an incredible exploration this has been. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of Splendor Solis in the world of alchemy.
We have, but that's what's so exciting about it. There's always more to uncover, more to learn. It's a journey that never really ends.
It really feels that way.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is how this text, written centuries ago, still speaks to us today. Those alchemists were wrestling with some pretty big questions that the meaning of life, our place in the cosmos.
They were, weren't they? They were pioneers in a way, exploring the boundaries of knowledge, seeking to understand the mysteries of creation.
And they did it through this fascinating blend of science, spirituality, and symbolism. It's a perspective that we can still learn from today.
Absolutely. They remind us that true knowledge isn't just about accumulating facts and figures. It's about transformation, about the evolution of consciousness.
We've talked about the Philosopher's Stone as a symbol of this transformation. But did the alchemists believe it could actually be created? Was it a real, tangible thing, or more of a metaphorical concept?
That's a question that's been debated for centuries. Some alchemists believe the Philosopher's Stone was a physical substance, a catalyst that could transmute metals and grant eternal life.
A real-life elixir of immortality.
Exactly. But others saw it as more of a spiritual attainment, a state of enlightenment that resulted from a long process of purification and self-discovery.
So it wasn't something you could just cook up in a lab. It was the culmination of an inner journey, a transformation that happened within the alchemists themselves.
Right. And Splendor Solis, with its rich symbolism and allegorical imagery, offers us a glimpse into that inner journey.
It's like a guidebook for the soul, a roadmap for those seeking spiritual transformation. And speaking of roadmaps, there's one process we've mentioned a few times but haven't really delved into. The Red Lion process. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, the Red Lion. It's one of the most fascinating and perhaps misunderstood aspects of alchemy. It's a multi-step process, shrouded in a bit of mystery, and it involves some pretty potent substances.
Like what?
Well, there's corrosive sublimate, alcohol, and a key ingredient called lion's blood, which is created from dissolved gold.
Lion's blood. That sounds intense and dangerous.
It is. Alchemy was not for the faint of heart. The Red Lion process is described in some alchemical texts as a method for creating the Philosopher's Stone, but it's not entirely clear if that was its sole purpose.
So there's still some debate about what the Red Lion process was actually for.
There is, and that's part of what keeps alchemy so intriguing. It doesn't always give us straightforward answers. It invites us to question, to explore, and to come to our own conclusions.
I like that. It keeps the mystery alive. And it reminds us that true knowledge isn't just about having all the answers. It's about the journey, the process of discovery, and the transformation that happens along the way.
You know, that's a great point. The alchemists were constantly experimenting, refining their techniques, and pushing the boundaries of what was known. They were true seekers, driven by a thirst for knowledge and a deep reverence for the mysteries of creation.
And that's a spirit we can all embrace, regardless of whether we're actually working with alchemical substances or not. It's about cultivating a mindset of curiosity, a willingness to explore the unknown, and to never stop learning and growing.
Absolutely. The alchemists may not have discovered the Philosopher's Stone in the literal sense, but they left behind a rich legacy that continues to inspire us today. They remind us that the true transformation happens within, and that the journey of self-discovery is a lifelong pursuit.
So while we may not be brewing up lion's blood in our kitchens anytime soon,
Hopefully not.
we can still apply those alchemical principles to our lives. We can be alchemists of the soul, seeking to refine our character, expand our consciousness, and create a more harmonious world.
Beautifully said. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Splendor Solis.
This has been an incredible journey. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on alchemy and on the transformative power of knowledge and self-discovery.
It has been a fascinating exploration. And to our listeners, I encourage you to continue this journey on your own. Pick up a copy of Splendor Solis, delve into the world of alchemy, and see what treasures you uncover. You might just surprise yourself with what you find.
And who knows? Maybe you'll discover that the Philosopher's Stone has been within you all along. Thank you for joining us on this alchemical adventure. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep transforming.